She stood before the mirror, her face smeared with crocodile dung and her teeth blackened with charcoal, and thought to herself, "Perfection." Welcome back, everyone. Tonight, we're traveling to ancient Rome, a civilization that gave us aqueducts, architecture, and the deeply questionable belief that rubbing mouse brains on your gums was the height of glamour. If you think modern beauty standards are confusing, just wait until you hear what the Romans considered drop-dead gorgeous. Spoiler alert, it involved a lot of lead, some questionable livestock products, and absolutely zero understanding of long-term health consequences. So, settle in, get comfortable, and prepare to feel much better about your skincare routine. Let's start with the face, specifically the pale, ghostly white face that every fashionable Roman woman desperately wanted. In ancient Rome, a tan meant you worked outdoors, and working outdoors meant you were poor. So naturally, the wealthy elite did everything in their power to look like they'd never seen the sun in their lives, which, to be fair, was probably true for some of them. Their weapon of choice? Lead powder. Yes, that lead. The toxic heavy metal that we now know causes brain damage, organ failure, and a delightful array of neurological disorders. Roman women mixed it with chalk and slathered it across their faces like frosting on a very poisonous cake. They called it cerussa, and it gave them that coveted ghostly pallor, along with headaches, stomach cramps, and the kind of cognitive decline that made everyday decision-making feel like advanced calculus. But hey, beauty is pain, right? And in this case, also progressive lead poisoning. Of course, you couldn't just be pale. That would be boring. You also needed rosy cheeks to show you were healthy and vibrant, even if the lead powder was actively killing you from the outside in. So Roman women turned to rouge, which they made from red ochre, crushed mulberries, or fermented fish. Fermented fish. Imagine standing in your bathroom, dabbing your cheeks with something that smells like a crime scene at a seafood market, all while telling yourself, this is what beauty demands. Some women went even further and used cinnabar, a gorgeous red pigment made from mercury sulfide. It looked stunning. It was also wildly toxic. Prolonged use could cause tremors, mood swings, and the kind of personality changes that make you wonder if Caligula's reign was less about tyranny and more about makeup. But at least their cheeks looked fabulous. Now, let's talk eyebrows, specifically the unibrow. In ancient Rome, a single, bold eyebrow stretching across your forehead like a furry suspension bridge wasn't just acceptable, it was desirable. It was a sign of intelligence, beauty, and sophistication. If you weren't blessed with a natural unibrow, you could fake it. How? By drawing one on with soot or powdered antimony, another toxic substance that could cause skin irritation, respiratory issues, and the gradual realization that perhaps beauty standards were getting out of hand. And if you did have the unibrow but wanted to make it even more dramatic, you could darken it with crushed flies. Dental hygiene in ancient Rome was creative. Toothpaste as we know it didn't exist, so Romans made their own. They mixed together things like crushed bones, oyster shells, powdered charcoal, and, wait for it, human urine. Specifically, imported Portuguese urine, which was apparently considered top tier for teeth whitening. There was a whole industry around collecting, aging, and shipping urine across the empire for oral care. Let that sink in. People were gargling with fermented pee because someone, somewhere, decided it made your smile brighter. And you know what? It kind of did. The ammonia in urine is a mild bleaching agent. So technically, it worked. But at what cost? Some Romans also believed that rubbing mouse brains on their teeth and gums would prevent decay. There is no historical evidence that this worked, but there is evidence that Romans were very committed to the bit. Roman hairstyles were an engineering feat. Women in the upper classes wore their hair piled high in elaborate towers of curls, braids, and waves, often supplemented with hairpieces made from the hair of enslaved people or imported from distant provinces. These styles took hours to create. Imagine sitting still while a servant meticulously arranges your hair into a gravity-defying sculpture, all while you contemplate whether this is really worth it. And if your hair wasn't the right color, no problem, Romans had dye. Blonde hair was especially prized, likely because it was exotic and associated with Germanic tribes. To achieve it, women used a mixture of goat fat and beechwood ash, which they applied to their hair and then sat in the sun for hours. If that didn't work, they could try saffron, which was expensive, or henna, which worked but turned your hair more orange than golden. And if you were a man losing your hair, Romans had a solution for that too, a paste made from bear grease, opium, and wine. Did it work? No. Did it smell like a druid's fever dream? Absolutely. Let's talk body hair, or rather, the complete and utter lack of it. Romans were obsessed with hair removal. Body hair was considered barbaric, uncivilized, a sign that you were closer to animal than human. So they removed it, all of it. Wealthy Romans had enslaved attendants pluck every hair individually with tweezers made of bronze. For larger areas, they used a method called sugaring, similar to modern waxing, but stickier and more painful. And if you couldn't afford a servant or didn't have the pain tolerance of a gladiator, you could make a depilatory cream from ingredients like resin, pitch, and quicklime. Quicklime, the stuff used in construction, the same chemical that can cause severe burns. But smooth skin was worth the risk of chemical peeling, apparently. Here's where things get truly unhinged. Some Roman women believed that gladiator sweat was an aphrodisiac and a powerful skin treatment. So, after the games, servants would scrape the sweat and oil off gladiators' bodies, along with dirt, blood, and whatever else had accumulated during combat, bottle it up and sell it. Wealthy women would then rub this mixture on their skin, convinced it would make them more attractive. It's like buying bathwater from a celebrity, except the celebrity is a man who just fought a lion, and the bathwater is mostly blood. This wasn't a fringe belief either. This was mainstream. There are historical records of this product being sold in markets across the empire. Imagine walking through the forum, past the olive vendors and the wine sellers, and stumbling upon a stall advertising authentic gladiator sweat fresh from the Colosseum. And people bought it. So there you have it, ancient Rome, where beauty meant poisoning yourself with lead, bleaching your teeth with urine, and moisturizing with the sweat of professional fighters. It's easy to laugh, but in a strange way, it's also kind of comforting. Because it reminds us that humans have always been a little ridiculous. We've always chased impossible standards, always convinced ourselves that suffering equals beauty, always believed that the right cream or powder or potion would somehow make us worthy. The products change. The ingredients, thankfully, get less toxic. But the impulse? That's eternal. So tonight, as you drift off, maybe take a moment to appreciate your modern toothpaste, your non-lead-based foundation, your complete lack of gladiator sweat in your skincare routine. And remember, beauty standards are temporary, but the absurdity of humanity, that's forever. Sleep well, everyone, and maybe give your eyebrows a little extra love tonight. Unified or not, they're doing just fine. If you enjoyed this journey through history's most baffling beauty trends, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more stories from Charlie's Bedtime Stories, where the past is always stranger than you think. Good night.